China's secret mission to the moon. This mission hasn't broadcasted much in the West. It's almost all of them don't know the existence of this mission. China did this in 2014. It's a Chang'e-5T1 test flight. The T is for test flight. Chang'e-5 is going to go to the moon this 2019, about October to December, and the mission is to go to the moon and get the sample rocks and the soil and bring it back. Okay, but before they do that, they wanted to test some part of the technical challenge. The one is flying out of the moon surface, and the rendezvous. It's automatic rendezvous because it's unmanned robotic flight, and it's come back and re-entry to the Earth's orbit and landing. Okay, so there are many aspects. It's a first-time challenge to do that. So in order to have the Chang'e-5 mission successful, this coming October to December 2019, China conducted the test flight. Basically, it's go around the Earth, moon, and come back successfully in 2014. And now, not only that, China tested landing and flying out and rendezvous, all the sequence in one test flight. So far, China did Chang'e-2 that went to moon and go around and take the photo and adjusted the orbit to get close to the surface of the moon to get the high resolution photos, and completed the making a moon map. And that's right now the of the moon orbit and flying around the sun now. And on the way, it took a picture of some asteroid that is circling sun. And Chang'e-3 is on the near-sighted moon. It's landed and took a lot of data there. Chang'e-4 went to the far-sighted, and to go to the far-sighted, China set up the relay satellite at the Lagrange 2 point behind the moon, and that is circling at the halo orbit. It's a vertical orbit, and from relay circuit satellite, you can see the moon, far side of the moon and Earth at the same time. So the satellite there is acting as a relay satellite, so the China can communicate with the lander on the far side of the moon, behind the moon. Okay, so Chang'e-5 is going there and pick up the rocks and come back. And before that, China conducted a test. Okay, 2014 mission to test moon landing and the return. Okay, the way it's set up is October 19, 2014, preparation of return modules and service. Okay, return module look like this. So this one come back and go to the moon and circle around the moon, and the lander is different. Lander land on the moon and fly out the moon and rendezvous with this module, and it's come back. Now actually rendezvous and transfer the sample to this module, and this module come back, because this module is designed to withstand the heat when it's come down to the Earth's surface. Okay, those lander is not the moon surface, the lander and this module that fly out of the moon surface and rendezvous with this module, they are not designed for the heat. So it's passed the sample to this module, and keep this sample safe with this design which stand heat for the atmosphere. So there's no way that the you can have a module the landed on the moon and the same module come back. You can't do that. Okay, only the kind of design that withstand the heat in the Earth's atmosphere can come back. So this is the one. This is a Shenzhen aircraft. Okay, it's kind of Orion, the NASA's making Orion. That's the same capsule. And the problem is, return from the moon, it's 11 kilometers per second. It's like a Mach 31. It's too much kinetic energy. The reason is when something comes back to the Earth's gravity is going to increase the speed faster and faster, and it's reached too fast. Okay, if you get into the atmosphere at this speed, even this kind of design cannot withstand the heat. And Orion's got heat damage last time because it went to elliptical orbit for testing, and it came back to Earth. The speed is too much, and getting to the Earth got the heat damage. Okay, to allow to avoid the heat damage, it has to be the speed has to be reduced to 7.7 kilometers per second, about Mach 22, and which is the the high orbit, and come down to the Earth's surface, and that's kind of speed this design can stand. Most of the current design can stand this kind of kinetic energy. This kinetic energy is too much. It's going to cause a heat damage. If human inside, they all die. So how do we reduce the speed? That's, we tell you, China wanted to test that method. Okay, and this was launched by Long March 3C E. E is an improved version of 3C, and this launch is about 537 tons. Okay, and the testing, the method China tried to test is a skip re-entry method. Skip re-entry means aircraft come down to the atmosphere at 32, Mach 32, and bounce off and dissipate the heat. And second time, much less speed, it's re-enter, then going to the landing. Okay, so the detail will be later. Another thing interesting experiment China did is VHF radio wave communication. Now, everybody believe in the industry that you need to use a high frequency like a gigahertz. Apollo claims 2.5 gigahertz, and this kind of high frequency to communicate that distance, Earth and the Moon. But this higher frequency is consume a lot of energy, the power, and the battery doesn't last too long. And in order to have the low power version, the VHF much lower frequency, 145 megahertz, the China wanted to test, see if they can communicate with Moon. And surprisingly, this new technology for noise reduction method, they could communicate. And with this technology, the about 30 kilograms battery is could operate like 4 or 5 days. If you use this 2.5 gigahertz, probably it's battery is going to be out in a couple hours, 2-3 hours. In order to operate 4-5 days, you have to bring the battery like a entire battery of the Tesla car. That kind of battery is needed to do that. Okay, so this is an attempt to make it communication much longer time using a lower frequency, lower energy, and that's a test China conducted, and it was working well. Then when the battery run out, then you have to recharge it by sunlight, solar cell, and only when you recharge you can communicate. You cannot continuously communicate, and especially if you use a high frequency like this 2.5 gig Apollo crane, its battery cannot last. It's going to run out in a few hours unless you bring huge batteries. Another test is moon orbit maneuvering. The maneuver on the moon orbit and the rendezvous. Rendezvous is the module fly out from moon surface and the rendezvous with the one circling, orbiting. And this operation is to pass the sample to the module that come back to the Earth. Okay, so October 22nd, 2014. So October 22nd, 2014, China launched this rocket, and this rocket, the main engine is 742 kilonewton, and vernier engine, 4 of them, each 11.8 k newtons. It needs pretty heavy payload, and multiple rocket separation and course adjustment is all confirmed. The multiple rocket separation is this like a 3 stage rocket, and the course adjustment is before going to the moon it has to aim at the right direction and speed, and that's a course adjustment. Okay, and trajectory is, this is Earth and moon, and the trajectory is calculated using a supercomputer. And when it's on the way to the moon, the Earth look like this. This is a photo taken. Trajectory correction is done 3 times after departure of Earth's orbit and in the middle point on the way and before entry to the moon orbit. So how China does the navigation? China briefly explained before, but after that they didn't provide any detail, but they put X-ray pulse navigation system. Means around the Earth they launch 4 satellites that emit X-ray pulse, and you can triangulate with this pulse to know the exact location, distance, and speed. Okay, so this is Chinese own system, navigation system. It's not like looking at star kind of method. That's it doesn't work. So it's like outer space GPS. That's what China is using. And interesting thing is China tested the low frequency communication with very high noise filtering technologies. They can communicate, and that battery is going to last long time to do the communication. Okay, like 4 or 5 days continuous communication, and this was one of important testing see how long the battery can last to do the communication with Earth. The October 28, 2014 Chang'e-5T complete a 4 days trip to the moon. It's right moon, arrival to the moon orbit, and this is how it look like the moon and Earth like that. You know, some of YouTube video shows Earth like this and the moon is like that. This is completely fake image. Since Earth is so far away, perspective is going to make that Earth very small compared with the moon. And 20-kilometer flyby. So what's happened is the 20-kilometer flyby, it's flyby and the service module with this return module together fly by and come back. Okay, so the returning aircraft has a service module attached, and this service module has a fuel to adjust the speed and trajectory, and that's very important. And about 5,000 kilometers above the Earth is separate. So when Earth is here, two modules come back, and here it's separate. The returning module keep going, and service module make a U-turn and go back to the moon second time. Okay, because this service module has other tests to do, like a rendezvous and other tests. So after it's bring the returning flight up to about 5,000 kilometers, is separated. This is Earth, and returning module keep flying. Okay, so this is a trajectory. Let's go there and fly by very close to the moon and come back, and here it's separate. Service module go back to the moon, and returning module is going to enter the Earth. But it's not just enter the Earth. That's I will explain later. So this is the separation of returning module and service module. The returning module is designed to withstand the heat you get during the descending atmosphere, and the service modules gonna go back to the moon, and this go into the Earth. Now, how it's get? The speed is too fast, right? So speed too fast, 11 kilometer per second, is gonna cause heat damage. So you enter at a certain angle, then this module bounce back, and at about 140 kilometer, there's no atmosphere. Okay, this is going to be ballistic trajectory. There's no air, anything, so you cannot adjust the trajectory here except for rocket engine. Then second entry and come down and more go to the inner Mongol in China. Okay, so this is like Africa, above Africa, and this is inner Mongolian. Okay, and this area is to dissipate the heat. This heat is dissipated. Kinetic energy changed to heat and it's dissipated. And here the speed is going to be less than 77 kilometers per second. Okay, so it's a safe entry. Even that, it's got heat, but the capsule designed to stand the heat, and later parachute and successful return. Okay, so return module successfully came back. Okay, this is the first time that something went to the moon and go around the moon and came back. And it's got heat, but inside it's well protected, even human can stay. But this is a critical entry. They say in order to have a proper bounce, the tolerance here is 0.2 degree. That means the human cannot do this. The computer and the precise navigation system adjust it to exact angle to come in so that it's bounced the proper amount, then come down to the target area. And this is very critical parameter here. And China wanted to test it, see they can control within 0.2 degree entry. Okay, and it was successful. And this is a service module going back to the moon again. Okay, so return module came back to the Earth successfully. Service module is not designed to withstand the heat, but it's collect the solar energy. And what happened is December 1st, 2014, service module went back to the moon and got into L2 point. The L2 point, I made another video. You have Earth and the moon. And the L2 point is here. What's happened is the two gravity and this go around. The L2 point is a balancing point going around Earth for two gravity effect. Okay, so it's about 60 kilometers from moon. So this is the moon here, and it's the Chang'e-5 test went to the L2 point and circle around vertically. Okay, and this result was used on Chang'e-4 relay satellite. Relay satellite went there exactly same way and circling around. Even now it's circling around L2 point like this. So this can see both the back of the moon and the Earth. So it's a relay. So Chang'e-4 send a signal and go to the Earth. Earth send a signal. It's come to the Chang'e-4, the far side, the other side of the moon. Okay, so this is a Lagrange point circling. So maneuvering test, in and out, Lagrange point, and elliptical orbit to circle orbit. Around the moon, you should be able to adjust this orbit and this orbit, adjustment, maneuvering. And close-up photo of landing site. Chang'e-5 is going to land that location. This test module took a very high resolution detail photo. And the landing test, the module, when it's become circular, the module is separated and landed on the moon, and leaving the moon surface and auto rendezvous test. So from surface it's fly out and service module here and rendezvous automatically. Okay, so that all test here. Here's a service module, the circle around about 1 month, more than 1 month, and go back to the moon and did a rendezvous test and maneuvering test. Let's make it circle to elliptical orbit. Okay, those all the tests completed during December 2014. So This is a picture. If you are circling around, L2 point. This is the Earth, this is the Moon. So you can see, this way you take a picture over 1 month, Moon you see this way, and you overlay all the pictures with the reference of the Earth. It looks like this. Okay, so there are a few considerations here. Everything went well and test was successful. China didn't need Chang'e-5T2. Okay, initially they called T1, but now they drop it out. No more test. They're ready to go. Chang'e-5 coming October to December. Communication device. This is how it looks like. VHF, low power consumption, long lasting, 14 kilograms. It's about 30-pound battery, and that's operated amazing 4 to 5 days because it's a VHF. If it's a gigahertz, it's gonna last only several hours. Now, unless you bring huge battery, huge, like half-ton, and this is like in order to use 4 or 5 days gigahertz, and this is like an entire battery used in Tesla car. Okay, so you need that much battery power to communicate for 5 days using gigahertz. And how Apollo did it, it's just a mystery. Okay, there's no way you can use the gigahertz that long with limited battery power. So this guy is a success, because before they couldn't use such a low frequency to communicate that long distance because of the noise. But noise reduction, electronics advanced so much, even low frequency. Now China proved that you can communicate with Moon. Yeah, of course, higher frequency is better. You know, the higher the frequency is, energy higher, and it's become like a beam. But it's consumed too much battery. Okay, so that's one good things they tested. And here's a physics test question for you. What makes spaceship bounce? And one student argued very hard about this. It's because of atmosphere, he said. Okay, so you have Earth, and you have kind of atmosphere around, and because of this atmosphere, it's bounce. And I asked the reason why, and students said, when you throw the stone on the water, it's bounce, and that because of water. Sounds very clever, but it's completely wrong. The water, what it's push up is buoyancy, right? And buoyancy is, if it's got into the water this much, the buoyancy is going to give a lift and jump. The buoyancy of this thin atmosphere is almost zero, negligible. There's no buoyancy, okay? Nothing to push this up. What does it push up is, suppose you have a coming down with the angle V. This vector V against the gravity, right? You look at component this component is circling velocity, and this circular motion v dash is going to cause what? Centripetal force, which is by square, right? So when the speed increase by gravity more and more in square, this vector increase centripetal force against the gravity. Gravity force is almost constant, and suddenly speed increase, this force become much higher. It start making a curve until it start losing the velocity again. Then it's come back again. Okay? So nothing to do with the atmosphere. It's bounce because of centripetal force, which is acceleration for making a curve around the planet. Okay? So this bouncing happen any planet. On the moon, if you go this direction, you may bounce and come back several weeks or several months later. Okay? But if entry angle is too sharp, then it's crash landing to the moon. The asteroid, some of them crash, but it's burn because speed is too high in the atmosphere. Most of the asteroids burn. And some asteroid is skip Earth, burns, go all the way. But this one takes a long time and come back again. And if human on board, the couple months it takes, then they're dead. You can't do that. You have to have very precise entry angle control, 0.2 degree. So it's bounce, but it's proper amount and come down soon. Okay? And without that, you cannot come back to Earth. I mean, if somebody said, yeah, we came back to the Earth without bouncing, it's a lie, right? Because you are dying by heat damage. Orions got heat damage already. There's no way they can come back without using this method, bouncing and dissipate the heat and come back second time. And that's critical way to come back to Earth. China tested, and they did with this Chang'e-5T module, and it's not widely published, so we didn't hear much about it, but that's Chinese secret mission. They have tested them all, and they are ready to go. Chang'e-5 ready to go now to get the moon rock and come back. And it's gonna bounce once, reduce the speed, and land on the Earth. And this precise control of angle is a technology. Without that, nobody can come back to Earth, because Earth's gravity pull and speed keep increasing, and speed too fast, and it's become like Orion, heat damage. And if human inside, for sure they die. On the other hand, if bouncing angle is wrong, it's bounced too much. You never know, it may take a few weeks or 1 month. Then robotics okay. If humans inside, this is deadly. So this coming back to Earth, the China probably is gonna practice at least 5 times and make sure they master this technology before they send out the human. Anybody talking about sending a human to the moon without knowing this kind of technical problem, and you know they don't know anything, they are talking about something they don't know. Okay, Thank you for listening, and if you like, please subscribe.